All right, good morning, everybody. Mike Courtney here, brokerage director with Mass Mutual, Eastern Pennsylvania. And I'm here on a somewhat gloomy and humid Wednesday morning, joined by Steve Parisi. We're still coming down and sweating from our early morning workouts, just kind of hanging around. Steve, how's everything going today?
Good. It is hot and humid, and it's mid-October, which is not characteristic of Pennsylvania.
Not at all.
That's all right.
So we were just talking offline a little bit about growth and, this kind of chase for business growth and business development. And I think growth can mean a couple of different things. Number one, just to clarify at this stage with IBC and with everything that you guys have developed over there, when you talk about growth, are you talking about new agents? You're talking about increased premium dollars, probably both, but where do you focus? How do you even develop a plan? I mean, I've been with Mass. We were just talking about this. I've been with Mass for almost 10 years, and I feel like I've had a very successful time here, by all accounts. Growth is something I've always struggled with. I'm constantly bringing on new relationships. I can't say that I've really grown my commissions or my income the way that I've wanted to. You would think if you kind of focus on maintaining existing relationships and nurturing existing relationships and also bringing in new relationships, that's going to translate into growth. For some reason, it hasn't. So how do you come up with a plan? How do you separate that plan from your day-to-day minutia and business operations? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. So the first thing that I always try and not lose focus on, because I always want to grow the company, of course, and have a dominant footprint in the life insurance space when it comes to cash value life insurance, which we've talked about before. We want IBC Global to be the dominant force when it comes to whole life insurance, particularly with people interested in high cash value. Like that's what we really want to make sure our niche is, and it is like that. That's what we focus on with everyone. So the big thing is when we're trying to figure out, hey, how do we grow the company? What I never want to lose vision of, because this will cripple everything, is the laser focus on the consumer and making life convenient for them. Making things transparent, like so in our mission statement, we've got transparency, so there's no buyer's remorse. Oh, I didn't know that after the fact. We don't want that because that causes frustration, but really making things convenient for them. Make life as easy as possible. If you do that, you'll continue to grow. Amazon is case in point, right?
So don't lose sight of your core values. Correct. Don't lose sight of that mission statement.
Yeah.
Whatever you laid out at the beginning as like, this is most important. Got to keep that in mind all along.
Correct. Which is easy to lose sight of when you're trying to figure out, hey, we just found a great avenue to grow over here because we found out that a lot of, individuals in their 40s or in this particular area or engineers like to work with us. Let's focus on them. Hey, here's what I said in the meeting or multiple meetings. We've had a lot of success in working with this type of individual.
Start chasing that.
Correct. So it's good to go where the people that are interested are, but at the same time, don't lose the main mission, right? The main mission statement. Focus on the consumer, not the competition, none of the mudslinging, the consumer. You got to stay focused. Now, when it comes to actual growth, a couple of things happen. Is you and I, well, you more so, would be more focused on sales to say, okay, what's going to drive growth? Sales. And why I say you more so is your background has been, hey, how do we continue to drive sales? Correct me if I'm wrong, just as a brokerage director.
Trying to drive revenue. Yep.
Yeah. And that's mine as well as a business owner. And it's something I've had to learn how to do only because my background is not in that. It's a nerd sitting in the back office designing life insurance illustrations for maximum cash value.
Well,
Yeah.
Steve, I have an accounting degree,
Yeah.
so we're both
Yeah.
nerds. Sorry.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you. So, with that said, a focus on sales and revenue like that is needed at the end of the day. That's the only thing that's going to grow the company. The revenue has to come in. So, what I'll look at from a business owner to go back and answer your question, how do you drive that growth? Okay, if you said more sales, like what does that mean? How do we get more sales? How do we talk to more people? What's the number one reason why people fail out of this business? Not enough people to talk to. Like that's the issue. So if you call it a prospecting issue or just I need to talk to more people, how can you actually get in contact with more people? There's marketing, which we do a ton of. There's referrals. You can network with other professionals. There's a lot of ways to do it. But if you want to hit mass scale, do you think you're going to be able to do that by network marketing and getting referrals from people?
Doesn't feel like it.
You feel like Amazon does that?
Right. No.
No. Now, referrals are great. I mean, that is a high quality contact. It doesn't cost anything from a marketing standpoint. And if you do a good job, that'll continue to grow your company faster than you anticipate sometimes. But marketing, that's very, very important. So, what I have a focus on in growing the company really is marketing and assisting our agents when they're working with people. I like to reach out as much as I can to the people that they're working with, interested policyholders, and really talk to them, kind of get a feel as to why they reached out to our company, if they have questions on the product, the mechanics of it, if they want to see any examples. I do like connecting with people, but my focus is really on marketing. How do I get the message out to more people?
Mm-hmm. And what is that? How has that looked? Or you've had marketing plans in the past.
Yeah.
Where is that going in the future? How do you decide when to move in a different direction?
Yeah. So,
and when you say marketing, are you looking for advisors or clients?
Gotcha. So specifically clients, how do we get more clients interested? So for example, if I know that we've had a lot of success with real estate investors that put in on average $100,000 per year into a cash value life insurance policy, what I want to know is, okay, how are we actually, one, getting their attention? How are they finding us? Is it through YouTube? Is it through Google search? Is it through social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it might be? So we're constantly testing those different platforms.
You can quantify all that?
You can. So I'm not an expert there, but I've hired people who are that can send me the reports to know, okay, here's where we need to dedicate our attention. And when I say dedicate our attention, and this goes back to marketing as well, I'll look at it and say, okay, a lot of our stuff is lengthy where we just dig into the detail. We're not hitting an audience that just wants quick facts. Tell me this in 10 seconds. Tell me this in 15 seconds or 30 seconds, whatever it might be.
No, they want you to tell them over 10 weeks.
Correct.
Not really, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But there's an audience for there's an audience in respect to people that you're only going to get their attention if you can create marketing content that's 30 seconds long or 60 seconds long, which personally is a struggle of mine. So we'll put that together or we'll work on that and then A/B test that as we put it out there to see how do we get
that.
Yeah. How do you get the eyeballs?
I've always thought that specifically with Mass Mutual, just because that's who, primarily, I mean, that really is who I represent. I'm independent. I sell, I work with other companies, but I've always thought the most effective stuff was like the little 30-second, 45-second video. There's a company that a lot of Mass Mutual agents work with, Wealth Building Cornerstones, that does these. It's a cartoon, and the voice in the background sounds like Morgan Freeman. It's not Morgan Freeman, but it sounds exactly like him. And it's these black and white stick figures, or it looks like whiteboard drawings very quickly coming together and they're awesome. And it's like quick. It's very like highly conceptual. I feel like anything I see that's like over a minute and a half or over 2 minutes, you're going to lose everybody.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about who does all that? So if you're, use your business as an example, you come up with a marketing plan that is probably diverse and robust at the same, like you've got a couple of different areas where you have outreach, whether it's YouTube or some form of social media or some form of existing client contact. You've got all these spots where you're reaching out and trying to find new clients. Who quantifies all that for you? Like, is that one person? Is that an outside consultant? Is that someone internally that you train to be your, chief marketing officer? How do you navigate through that, being admittedly, as you say, not an expert in those areas?
Yeah, so we have to leverage each other's strengths. So what I'll try and do is focus on what the consumer wants, what questions are we getting from prospects and clients of our own, what do we see competitors asking us? I'm sorry, what do we see potential clients asking us and competitors? So what are the commonly asked questions out there that people want answers to? Right? For example, the past couple of days, this whole week, we've been doing a series on how to maximize the internal rate of return of a whole life insurance policy. And it got a lot more interest than I thought it would, which is fantastic. But the reason why is because that question is always asked, or a lot of people say, hey, what if I do this with a policy? Or what if I do that, if I adjust the funding here? And a lot of times they get told an answer, but they want to see it and they feel like they're burdening the agent or the advisor because they're asking all these questions. So from a content standpoint, that's the kind of stuff I really try to dig into. What are they asking and how can I provide that to make it as transparent as possible where they don't have to ask questions? It's there in a video already. And then they say, okay, I saw that. Do that for me personally. And that's the process when they come to us. So from a content creation standpoint, I'll study that a lot to see what's going on. I'll constantly ask our agents what kind of questions, what problems are popping up. I'll reach out to clients to know what's going on so I can really keep my finger on the pulse of just the feel, the industry, everything. And that's the quality content that I want. But then as far as how to actually market that, like how do you create the right thumbnails? How do you put the right keywords into it? All of that back end stuff. That's not my strength. And I've tried to figure it out. I'm like, man, you got to put a lot of time into this.
You can't pretend. Yeah.
You can't. So we've got a media team in-house that does our editing. And they also have a calendar where they'll project out, hey, here's the next 2 months of the content we're going to drop. This way we've got some structure to it. But then we've got...
And that's a true... Are they were they a converted office staff that, kind of educated themselves and became good at this? Or it was true, like this is their career?
Gotcha. Yeah. So we used to do that. They started out as staff and figured it out. But no, the people we have now, I mean, they've got a media background, like with video editing and other things, like they know what to do. Like that's their strength. So I want someone that knows what they're doing there. Transitioning into marketing. So we've got two individuals, one that helps us, or one individual, I've known him forever. He's, kind of a combination of website development, marketing, IT. He knows just all the tech background. He'll work very closely with media. If we've got a webinar or something like that, they'll work on preparing the webinar, having everything set up properly. So when people register for it, we've got the contact information so we can follow up with these people who viewed it. Did they request more information afterwards? Like you've got to have all that tracked properly. It's got to be synced up with your CRM so you can properly follow up. Otherwise, you get all these interested people and you've got no follow-up system there. So it just slips through the cracks and it's useless.
Yeah.
So we've got someone there. And then recently we did hire a large agency that consults with us and helps us with a lot of our marketing to continue to push things forward, just because we've got a high amount of resources from a time and monetary standpoint dedicated toward marketing. And we want someone that, can really drive it forward.
How so? I mean, is that like a consultative kind of,
yeah,
taking a look at everything globally and then helping you come up with a better strategic plan and implementing that plan? Or looking at one piece of what you're doing and trying to do it better? How does that work?
Yeah, no. So their strength, the agency, is really with marketing. So call it with Google, pay per click, YouTube advertising, targeting videos, targeting the right audience, taking our existing audience and finding a lookalike audience. So to give you some context on that,
So they will analyze what you're doing, kind of identify who is watching this.
Yeah.
This is what the audience looks like.
Yeah.
And then keep moving from there.
Yeah, and what you can do, I mean, technology is amazing to me today, is we can take, for example, if we've got 100 people that pay in between 100,000 and 250,000 per year, I can take those people, provide it to the marketing agency without any sensitive information and say, okay, here's the basic information on this. Here's, the geographics where they live. Let's target them. And then you can actually, just based on what these people do with their social media, where they visit and such, you can target people very similar to them from a personality, from an income level standpoint.
Wow.
So now, yeah, I mean, the guys that pay in 200,000 per year, if as a business owner you say, okay, let's target more of them, or the guys that pay in $1 million per year, let's target more of them, to actually get in front of them so they see the content because it attracted you. So I know it's likely going to attract the other guy that's very similar just from the lookalike audience. So that's the kind of stuff that they'll do. They know how to target that specifically. So the nice thing is, like when you work with an agency like that, they need a lot of the information up front. It's tough to do if you're brand new. You can, but if you have data, like if you come to me and say, hey, I've got this book of business, ideally, I'd like every client to be like these guys over here, right? This group that I've got. So say, okay, let's take that. What's their characteristics, right? You can look at their persona, but you can also look at where do they live, maybe their email address, and say, okay, based on their social media habits and what they do, you can actually target people very similar to them from a personality standpoint. And then this way, those other people see your content and it'll help you drive the business growth.
That's pretty cool.
It is. And I probably did not give it, justice there because it's not my strength by any means, but
I don't know. I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah, I hadn't heard that way before. That type of marketing, I'm the furthest thing from any kind of marketing expert or guru, but that type of marketing, I've always just kind of heard and thought about, making sure your company name shows up at the top of the list in a Google search. It's way more than that. Yeah.
It is. It's very intensive. And it also takes time. Like you're not going to see instant results. You'll see it trickle up gradually.
How do they quantify the results at all?
Mm-hmm. When you say how do you tell if it's working?
I mean, you're 6 months in. What does that agency in particular, what does their feedback to you look like? Say like, hey, here's where we think we stand.
Yeah. So what I look at in that particular case, so we'll meet with them weekly or bi-weekly. And specifically what we look at is what is their intake, the volume of leads? What was it 2 weeks ago? Or what we just did is what was it the first week, the first 10 days of September? And then what is it now, the first 10 days of October when we compare it? And we find that lead flow is the same, plus 34. We've cleaned up our target audience. So we've cleared out a lot of the stuff that wasn't effective. And we're just focusing on the filet mignon now, if you want to call it that. So we've gotten the same lead flow plus 34 over that 10-day period, which is great. So that means we're getting more volume. But then also because we're just laser focused on who we want, it's just not an extra 34 leads. It's another 34 people that are very qualified. So how I measure it is one through that. Okay, the lead flow is increasing. We're getting more leads from other platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all that stuff, which is great. But then also what I like to look at is, okay, from our business, our pipeline standpoint, business is closing and our numbers continue to go up, which should always happen from a business standpoint. But then also, what's happening with our back end pipeline, meaning when we close cases and someone opens a policy, Are we having new applications that quickly replace that? Are we staying at 300 pending cases in the pipeline, or did it dip below 300? And what's happened over the past month and a half since we've really dedicated an effort here, time and a lot of money there, is we're closing more, like more people are moving forward, and our pipeline's increasing, like it's getting higher and higher. So how I'll look at it, lead flow volume increases, but really the indicator to know if the quality has increased, are you getting more people that are saying, okay, I get this, saw the content, met with the agent, let me actually start. Here's the questionnaire, they fill out an application, and things move forward.
All right, very cool. Next time I want to talk to you a little bit about agent and employee growth, not just agent growth, but how to maybe more effectively build out a team that's going to help you grow. I think that's a real pain point for a lot of people who might be very good sales and relationship focused professionals, but might not be the best managers, might not be the best at building a team around them. I mean, that's a struggle for especially in our business. So maybe we can get into a little bit of that next time.
Yeah, definitely. I can start talking about that now, but we'll do it next time.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
Steve, thanks for everything. If anybody wants to check out Steve, IBC Global, Steve.parisi, President and CEO. These guys are the best in the business. I've been working with them for a long time. All kinds of great things going on at Mass Mutual. I've got a lot to talk to people about. So if you are an independent financial advisor who wants to work with one of the best and brightest mutual companies out there with an independent broker contract, feel free to reach out to me. Hope you have a great week, Steve. Thanks for everything, and I'll talk to you soon.
Likewise. Thanks so much, Mike. Enjoy.
See you.
All right. Bye.